Right, so good news for a change. We've talked about sandboxes for 2 weeks running now, and I think we've more than done that story justice. So today, no drama, no escaped AI models, just what's actually landed in our hands this week across the tools you probably already use. And because I'll be doing you a disservice if we didn't skip it, a few honest, plain English words on why keeping things sensible still matters. Even if a week where nothing's gone wrong, it's not scary, just sensible, like locking the shop door at night before you go home. You don't need a lecture on it, sometimes we just need a little bit of a reminder. Here's the things I keep coming back to. Every one of these tools is getting more useful, and it's only getting more useful when you allow it to see more of your business. That's just true, but more useful and more sensible aren't automatically the same thing. And the business that gets this right are the ones that are asking really, really simple questions before they say yes to a new AI tool, not after. So that's woven into today as well, not bolted in at the end. We're going to be talking throughout the day, throughout the podcast on that. So let's get going. My name's Alan Bark and welcome to the AI Weekly Brief. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love you to do that, please. It allows us to keep using and creating this content. And we're going to start with ChatGPT because a lot has landed here this week. None of it's flashy. It's just really, really useful stuff. So from the 6th of August, if you're on the free version of ChatGPT, your text chats are no longer limited. That's quite a big one, actually. OpenAI has just passed 1 billion weekly users. And rather than squeeze the free tier tighter, they've opened it up. So if you've been rationing your questions because you hit the cap halfway through the day, that's gone. Alongside that, the model's doing the actual thinking of change too. So free and go users now get to use ChatGPT 5.6 Luna as the default, replacing the older 5.5. The Plus and the Pro users are getting upgraded to GPT 5.6 Sol. That's built for quicker jobs like researching, writing and planning. And here's a number worth knowing. OpenAI's own internal testing has showed that the factual errors have dropped 62% for Luna and 68% for Sol. Compared to previous models, but that's OpenAI marking their own homework, which is okay because if you think about it, fewer confidentially wrong answers is still fewer confidentially wrong answers. And what matters here is, we're heading in the right direction, especially if you're using this from real business solutions. There's also a new think button on GPT. And when you've got a genuinely complicated question, you tap the think button and the model spends longer properly reasoning, properly researching, and really thinking about it rather than just firing back the first plausible answer. It's a really simple idea, but it's also a really good one. Most people don't know that. I think all the tools have a slow down and actually think gear. And now that's a simple tap away. If you've got something you really want it to get right, just hit the think button. It'll go and research it and respond in a far better way. And a genuinely fun one, right? I'm going to try this week, but GPT can now actually book your restaurant table through OpenTable and through Yelp if you're in the US or Canada. So it's worth flagging that clearly. Yelp booking is only for US and Canada at the moment. So if you're here in the UK, don't be looking for it just yet. But OpenTable side works much more broadly. It's a small feature, but it's a nice example of those tools moving from telling us stuff to actually doing stuff for us. It's really cool. And I'll definitely be trying that this week. Take those together and you can see where this is heading, can't you? A year ago, ChatGPT answered your questions. Now it's reasoning harder. And if you ask it to, it's actually completing small real-world tasks on your behalf. That's a genuinely different kind of tool than most people still think they're using. So now, if you had to pick one single most useful update for most people listening to this, it's probably this one, because Microsoft have rolled out proper prompt to document automation in Word, Excel and PowerPoint. You describe what you want: a report, a spreadsheet, a slide deck, And Copilot builds a genuinely polished first version, not just a rough sketch that you have to rebuild. And it's now drawing on both OpenAI ChatGPT 5.6 and Anthropic's Claude models under the hood. So you're getting the best of both worlds rather than just tied to one. There's also something called Copilot Notebooks, which is a nice idea. Explained simply, you gather up all the material relevant to a project, documents, notes, whatever you've collected, and Copilot can turn that into that sort of big pile into an editable Word document, an Excel workbook, or a slide deck, even a mind map, whichever format helps you think. It's the difference between I've got 40 tabs open and I've got one clear document that helps me think properly and make really, really useful decisions. And two smaller, quietly useful bits. Word documents can now have their table of contents inserted and kept up to date automatically as you edit these long documents. And search inside Word, Excel and PowerPoint now properly reads scanned PDFs and texts inside the images, not just the typed text. So if half of your filing system is old scanned paperwork, it's finally searchable properly. None of that's going to make the headlines, but it adds up to, it's going to give you hours back in your week if you start using this stuff properly. And that's exactly the sort of update I want to be telling you about more often than talking about drama. So Anthropic and Perplexity, right? This is where I want to slow down a touch, because it's the bit that ties into that sensible word I promised you earlier. And Anthropic's expanded what's essentially a big directory of ready-made plugins that let Claude connect to the other tools that you already use, your calendar, your email, your project boards, that sort of thing. There's now almost a thousand of these listed. Think of it less as a technical feature, more as Claude can now reach into more corners of your business than it could a few months ago, with your permission, of course. And on the admin side, Claude Enterprise picked up better spending controls and clearer visibility over who's using what and how much it's actually costing the business. Proper business housekeeping. That kind of sensible owner actually knows and wants. They want to know what you're spending. They want to know who's got access to what. It's basic stuff, right? Perplexity made a similar move, letting its agents tools pick from a range of underlying models. OpenAI, NVIDIA, Anthropic, Google's, rather than locking you into just one. More choice, more flexibility. And here's why I wanted to slow down a bit on this particular section, because every one of these updates is genuinely useful, but notice the pattern running underneath them all. These tools are getting plugged into more of your business, not less. Your documents, your calendar, your customer records, your spending. And that's not a reason to worry. It's a reason to do what you do with anything new that gets access to your business. First, seek to understand what it can actually see before you decide how much of your business it gets to touch. That's it. That's the whole lesson. There's no jargon required here. 3, genuinely plain questions. And I mean plain, not IT department plain. I mean proper plain. What can this tool see once I switch it on? Do I actually need it to see all of that information, or just some of it? And if I wanted to switch it off tomorrow, do I know how? If you can answer those 3 questions about every AI tool connected in your business, you're going to be doing better than most SMEs out there at the moment. And while we're there, the basics still do most of the work. A different password for everything and anything is important. Not the same one everywhere. Password 123 is not acceptable anymore. That extra step when it asks you to confirm if it's really you logging in, none of that's new advice, and none of it is about AI specifically. It's just that as these tools get plugged into more and more of your business, the basics matter a little bit more each month, not less. So make sure you've got the basics right. Think of it like giving a new starter their laptop one day. You wouldn't just hand it over and let them figure out what they can and can't see. You'd set it up properly. The right folders, the right systems. Nothing more than they need to do their job. Do the same for every AI tool that you've got connected up. It's not paranoia, it's just really good management. It's the kind of thing that takes 10 minutes now, but it could save you a pretty bad afternoon later. And I'll say this plainly because I think it gets lost in all the technical talk. None of this needs to feel like a security project. It's the same instinct you already use for running your business. You wouldn't give a supplier a key to every single door in the business if they just needed access to your stockroom, right? It's the same principle. It's just a little bit different. So now tying all that together, for those of you running a business here in the UK, the advice that keeps coming up from the people looking at this properly isn't adopt everything. It's the opposite, actually. Pick 3 to 5 tools that actually learn them properly rather than dabbling in 15 and doing nothing. One general AI platform for everyday knowledge work, maybe ChatGPT or your Claude or Gemini. One specialist tool for whatever your actual bottleneck is. Something to connect those tools together so they're not all working in isolation. And following on from what I talked about today, some basic housekeeping around who can access what. That's genuinely it. Depth over breadth. Most businesses I talk to are trying to run 12 tools badly rather than a few, 3, 4, really, really well. And that shows. And it shows in a specific way, if I'm honest. It's rarely the tool itself that's the problem. It's that nobody in the business actually knows all 12 well enough to use them properly. So you end up paying for capability you're not actually using, while the 2 or 3 tools that you actually rely on don't get the attention they deserve. So pick fewer, learn them properly, and get more out of these tools used well than 15 used badly, every single time. So my favourite part of the podcast, the art of the possible. So 3 things you can actually do this week. Number 1, if you're on ChatGPT free and you've been holding back in the questions because you think you're going to hit your limit, that's gone. Go and actually use it properly this week. And try the new think button for one genuinely complicated question, just to feel the difference. Number 2, if you're a Microsoft 365 user, pick one document you dread writing, a report, a proposal, whatever it is, and let Copilot's prompt to document feature take the first pass this week. You'll still shape it, but you won't be staring at a blank page. Give it a go. Number 3, pick one AI tool your business already uses and ask the 3 questions, honestly. What can it see? Does it need to see all of that? And do you know how to switch it off? Take 10 minutes. It's worth every one of those minutes. And while you're in there, check your passwords. Is it the same password you use everywhere else in the business? Fix that. So that's this week in brief. Genuinely good news week. Nothing broken, plenty landed, and hopefully a useful nudge on keeping it all sensible along the way. If you want a hand working out which of these tools would be actually worth your time, or you just fancy a proper chat about where to start, I'm happy to have a sort of free 30-minute call. No pitch, just a conversation. And the details, of course, are in the show notes. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Thank you very much.